quite an emotional day, I have to say. I've been going with my good friend Chastity since about 11 o'clock this morning just to set up and make sure everything's here and on time. I want to thank you for coming here because this is the National Day for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls and Two Spirited. And that's why we're gathered. That's why we're wearing red. And that was partly because of Jamie Black out of Manitoba and the Red Dress campaign. So we're just trying to follow that. I think that I would like to introduce Elder Charlie now. He's going to give us a prayer, and followed, we're going to be going on a walk. Our walk is going to go on the sidewalk, up to the lights, down the street, and back again to here where we take our seats, and we'll have more speakers to follow. So thank you so much.
Okay. Hello, I offer greetings to each and every one of you. When we say these prayers, we say, Creator, let our activities be as beautiful as the day. So, with that, I'll be saying my prayer, asking blessings for each and every one of you. I also give thanks for all the gifts that we get from the Creator, Mother Earth, I realize, that, this cause, and I feel sometimes it could have been avoided with all the processes that hit our people. But yet we're still here. I can't even begin to imagine how some of those parents, some of those relatives feel about their losses, When I first heard about the unmarked graves in British Columbia, I guess to some extent, they might have come back to give the general public a message, of the hurt that we endured for these past maybe 1,000 years now. Maybe we might never get over that, but today, in my own situation, having gone back into our spiritual ways, I've learned to forgive, I have to forgive myself first, too, because I am a product of the residential schools. So, my prayers go out to you, each and every one of you, and families throughout all Alberta and all the Indigenous tribes, 648 of them across Canada. And I pray so that we would be able to take lighter steps tomorrow. Ane. Ayonapi natusi. Aistiklimatsuyo pakin xistikoi kitkokipinani. Token man sti damik sikpin xistikoi kak. Anahanis suka piwani nitstapo kakpinani. Ayanoxikimba tokinnanak. Anong sida beta pi pinnani. Saamsini. Aksikas to pas suka piwakani. Nokanista pitapi pinnani. Ai spommo sakya. Anamitas kinimat kiupio kimakata priskui. Uta pis na ukiwata piwa. Ako tasta pi tsimak dan sipoi pinnani ni tsitapioka. Kimma pi tishtipada pio. Ho kiamok skat staksi. Hatsi ja oku soawaksi. Aswaksi takki. Ai spommo sakya natusi. Siis koi kakoksikina. Issikaapi anskikkinaapiika. Kimmapiit issipäätäpio. Noko sennaaniksi. Ispommoosauat. Taamaks koukiaati sakeinaks simja. Issohti kahki tuo ja sukaapiika. Oganami taskani maatst kiup. Aksikaasta pääs sukaapiua. Hannik Kutaatista tuupuaqsqananistas yunhaangsaapou takiiksi saamiaki akaekkamutaaki ispommosaaki kimmaatuusaaki natajaaki ai kimmapiitisti päätäpiupi natuusiippain ai kimmapiitisti päätäpiupi toutaappui taniku taapuuttaksino aksakaasto päässukaapi okispommosaaki enää piittaa anami taskani maasta kiupakittaa pipioaatto ella no kansta poksiskaa ken kriistikoi o kitsian kristikoi sakia waatso siaks hokse puukkakia kemma piit ispäätä pio ok ni stoatsmani ahsaada piisni kaamotani anne.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for walking with us today. My name is Chastity Cairns. I'm the manager of Indigenous engagement and student supports here at Medicine Hat College. I wear many hats in the community, Indigenous community, and my spirit name is Samaki, which means medicine woman that was gifted to me by Elder Dan Fox. And so today's a pretty heavy day. We're commemorating National Day for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and Two-Spirited. We want to honor the families today that have lost someone, those that are still missing. Families are still, dealing with their, missing women and, where are they at and, not having them in their lives. And so I'm gonna start with ask the Wild Tongue Singers. So just maybe a round of applause for coming out here today because they came from all directions and to come and help support us in for this event. And so we're just gonna have a little moment of silence, and then they're gonna sing an honor song to start us off. Okay. So I'm just going to start sharing a little bit about my story. I'm not going to go into full detail, but I just, how does this happen? People always wonder, especially our non-Indigenous allies, how does this happen? And so, when you really think about our history here in Canada, You know, 7 generations of our families have attended residential schools. Our families were torn apart. So before Canada was Canada, our women were being raped and murdered. So this, like, just put that into perspective, okay? And so still today, 2023, every day there's women missing and murdered, okay? So this is why we're here today, because we need change. We need people to stand up, even for our own people, to regain our voices as women, men, in our communities. We need support, our allies, to to learn, become educated. Ask those uncomfortable questions, because you can't have change without truth and those uncomfortable feelings. And if you come and talk to Brenda and I, we're grateful that you're asking questions. If you work for an agency in this community, truth and reconciliation. There's, truth and reconciliation is, educating yourself about the call to actions. But we're at a point now where we need change. We need safe places for our women. We're, 7 times more likely to experience family violence. I'm one of them. I was able to escape my abusive relationship when I was 12 years old. I was raped and I was beaten, and I escaped. I outsmarted a murderer, a convicted murderer. And I'm here today talking to everybody to, I was able to escape, but there's so many women that weren't able to. And, and I'm grateful for that every day, and teaching my daughters to be strong women, to be independent, and to be role models, and that's what we're about. And so, we have MMIW, call to actions. There's 231. And so there's a good guide, whether you work in education, you work in the child welfare system, you work in the police force. There's your starting point, and starting those circles and discussions. And it's not just talking, it's about doing. Can you smudge in your organization? Have you approached the Indigenous community, the land that you're on? Do you know the land that you're on? Though that's a very important thing to know, because that's the community you need to approach. And like, I could speak for myself. I'm a visitor on this land. I'm from Treaty 2 territory. I come from Ochichako-Sapi. That's where my dad's community. I'm Soto, and my mom is Métis. And so I'm grateful. Medicine Hat is a beautiful city. But you know what? We had 2 very close calls with missing Indigenous women here. And thank God our Medicine Hat police services are supportive, and they listen to us. But I think they can be leaders for other communities in this country, because our women were safely brought home and found. But a couple days ago, the MP in Winnipeg, NDP MP, has called upon this government, that isn't listening. There would be change if they were listening, and to call upon that we need an alert system, especially in the big cities like Winnipeg and Edmonton and Calgary, because it's a little bit more disconnected. It's not as connected as our community. And family violence, I know it happens here. And because I used to work for Meowson, I used to support families, and I know the things that are going on in this community, and it is happening. But I know for a fact that a lot of the agencies here, we still can't smudge in there. That's our mental health. That's our medicine wheel is our psychology. And so, reach out to us if you want to be educated, because we got to start decolonizing our organization and ways of helping, because it's colonization is what's creating this in the policies that are within all of these government organizations that aren't putting in the proper supports. And so for our women and our families, we need to learn to walk between the two worlds. you know it's tough to be Indigenous every day, and I think sometimes Brenda and I are like, because we hear about loss in our community, but then we still gotta come to work every day, losing loved ones, loss, grief, the traumas. We need more support. We need people to support us. And I'm grateful that I can say, the people here on the right hand side here support me. Tennille, Jenna, Brent Sikoniak, like my non-Indigenous friends. We wouldn't be able to put on this event today if it wasn't for them. And we just graciously appreciate your support. And but yeah, so I think, like there's a lot of work to be done, because our women are being preyed upon. Because the fact is, when you think about media, if there's a non-Indigenous person in media, and this is a fact, I'm just speaking truths here, okay? And I don't, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but this is the truth. If there is a non-Indigenous person in the media that was missing or murdered, there would be an uproar in Canada. But every day there's women missing or murdered in Canada. One of them, Rebecca Contois, just recently, there was 3 women that were brutally murdered and found in garbage cans. Number one, we are not garbage. And, if you understand our culture, how we bury our people, we need all the parts so that person can move on to the spirit world. This is why our families are crying. We need to find them. We need to pray for them and have ceremonies so that they could go to the spirit world. And, just that extra help and support and understanding can change things. So those conversations with the key people in their communities. And, it shouldn't happen. And, Rebecca Contois hits home for me because my mom, she comes from my community, Ochichako Sipi. My mom is an educator on the reserve where my dad's from. And she used to teach her. And then 2 days ago, another woman was missing, and, and there's a lot of healing to be done, and so speaking on that, a lot of healing to be done. What needs to heal? Our families, our communities, because when you think about it, 7 generations of our families went to residential school. Think about your children as somebody coming to your door, taking your child away, and that was the law in Canada. How would that impact you? 7 generations of your families. The last one closing in 1996. I graduated from high school in 97. That's my generation that went to residential school. That's not long ago. These are fresh feelings that our people are dealing with here. And so when you think of that, and the child welfare system, 65% in Alberta, Indigenous children in our system. Okay, so when you think of that, what happened with residential school? Loss of culture, loss of family, loss of language, loss of our identity of who we are and our connections to our communities and our families. And that's important. We need to know where we're from. I know 70-year-old people that are just finally finding out if they're Métis or First Nations. That's residential school. The same thing's happening with the child welfare system, and so it's still happening. Murray Sinclair said, residential schools haven't gone away. It's in a new child welfare system, but I know for a fact, even in our own community, it's hard to hire Indigenous people. This is why I moved here to the college, because I want to empower women. I want to empower our men, to come, and yes, we can. We don't have a good relationship with the education system, but the only way we could make change is us being in those important circles that's making those decisions for our people, because we have our own ways of helping and we have our own ways of knowing, and it's thousands of years of knowledge systems that only now that our Western world is starting to recognize the importance of. And so, connect with our elders. You know, I'm so grateful to learn from Elder Charlie Fox, because his family has so much history, from the Blackfoot community in Kainai, and he has such a rich history, and that's passed on generation and generations, like even before Canada was Canada. And it's such a rich thing, and I've seen it firsthand, with a child being raised with their culture. You have self-worth, you have pride, you know where you're from and your parents and your identity. It makes a big difference. So we need to make those changes, and we need our non-Indigenous friends are the most important, because you're the ones that are at those circles making those decisions on our people. And so please start inviting us to those circles, because we can help make change. We can't do this alone. We need to do it together. And then, same for our own people. We're so diverse. First Nations, 634 First Nations communities in Canada, 50 distinct languages, 50 distinct tribes. And then you bring in Métis and Inuk. We're very diverse, and so, but we're great. We're lucky here in Medicine Hat, because we have a very diverse Indigenous community. So there's a lot of knowledge keepers here today, I see. And, our we started a new organization in the community. So when people ask, how can we make change for this? What's next? So Brenda and I and a group of 55 ladies in our community called Firekeepers Women's Society has started an Indigenous women's organization. And so this is the positive. This is why we're here today. This is why we brought people, because we want to create awareness and shake Medicine Hat up a little bit, and make a little bit of noise, because we have to, because people aren't listening. If people were listening, then our women wouldn't be missing or murdered. And so, but Firekeepers Women's Society is about regaining our culture, because that's an important piece. When Brendan and I started at Meowsin Friendship Center, we hosted circles, of craft circles, and all of a sudden, we're just there, we're wanting to learn how to bead, and all of a sudden we start crying, because that's the first time we've been connected to our culture. That's starting the healing process and regaining who we are. And we want to, because that's what we lost. And so we want to bring our culture back, our ceremonies, connection, because we don't have a lot of natural supports here in Medicine Hat. And even for myself, I'm from Manitoba. I don't have a mom or a dad, a grandma and grandpa to go and call upon support for. This is my family. This is my family. I don't have family to help me, And so it's important that we lean on each other as Indigenous people, And it doesn't matter if you're Métis or Cree or Blackfoot. Let's learn together, Let's learn together and teach each other and build each other up and empower each other, because we're worth it. We're worth it. Okay. I didn't cry. I'm okay. It's been building up for the last 2 days. So Brenda and I personally invited the mayor, and we personally invited Medicine Hat Police Services, because we personally feel, just because of the conversations that we've had here in our community, that I think they care. This is honestly how I feel. And, I know our city this year First year they started, what is it called again?
I think it was called Chiefs Indigenous Advisory Committee.
No, but what's the city one?
Oh, the ad hoc. Where's Carol?
So they have
Truth and Reconciliation.
the Truth and
Ad hoc
Reconciliation committee, and so they are. I know the city is working on the call to actions. So we appreciate that because that's the first time. Because I know when I was working at Meawson, I remember we've asked the mayor to come so many times to our events and he didn't show up. And so I'm not saying any names, but that's a fact. And so again, you got to talk the truth, because if you don't talk the truth, nothing's going to ever change. No more, roses and feather, I don't even know the word, you know what I'm saying? But, this is the time. People are dying. This is real. And we need to have these important conversations. And I know, with the Medicine Hat Police Services, because I've been there, we have the Chiefs Indigenous Advisory Committee, and we're working on it. We're trying to make change, and I wish our other communities will do the same, because we really do. And, when we say, well, there's no missing and murdered here, but there can be. Our population is growing. We want to prevent this from happening, okay? So we're lucky. We want to prevent this. And so that's why these conversations are important, and having these committees so that this doesn't happen. Family violence happens every day in this community. Our homeless population is rising. This is the aftermath of COVID. Mental health is on a rise. We want to prevent this from happening. And so, it's very important to have, especially the Indigenous, there's a lot of Indigenous people I know, because look at the stats. If you want to know, look at the stats. Any stats you look at, we're the highest population, you're going to be dealing with us. So it's important to be educated on supporting Indigenous people, okay? So, and that's why my job here at the college, to provide that education to the new programs, the new students that are going to be supporting our people in this community. That's my job, and I feel like, it's a very important job, and I take it seriously. I'll pick on you. I'll ask the important questions, but I know when you're going to leave my class, you're going to be educated, and I'm going to feel good with that. So I'll let someone else talk, because I can go on forever. Everybody knows me very well. So I appreciate all of you and coming out and supporting our event here today. And it means the world to see all the red. And we want to keep going bigger. My friend has a saying. What is it? Go big or go bigger. So we're doing that. We're shaking stuff up. So yeah. So I'm going to call upon the mayor, Lindsay Clark, and her worship. And so I appreciate you coming out today. Brendan and I approached her personally, and I really appreciate you. Good female energy, right? Power of, we're a matriarch society in the Indigenous community. Yeah. So thank you. Welcome.
Hello. I don't know also if you noticed that Brenda has these really cool earrings on. She makes those herself, and I believe that you can purchase them. And so such a great example of someone using the gifts that they have to give back to their community. Thank you. On behalf of City Council, I would like to thank you for welcoming me to your event today. And I also want to extend gratitude to everyone who has gathered here today. I don't really know what to do about that. How about now? Woo! You'd think I would have figured out how mics work by now, but nope. So on behalf of City Council, I would like to thank everyone for welcoming me to your event today, as well as extend gratitude to everyone who has gathered here today to remember and honor the missing and murdered Indigenous women in our community and beyond. I would specifically like to recognize Elder Charlie Fox. We also have Councillor McGrogan here today, Councillor Van Dyke, and a member of the Police Commission, Marco Jansen, president of the college, as well as our inspector, Brent Secondiak. I forgot to say your name, Kevin. Kevin Shufflebotham is back there. As council, we are committed to answering the calls to the Truth and Reconciliation Committee and working towards a future where Indigenous women are safe and respected in our society. We recognize the pain and trauma that has been inflicted upon Indigenous communities, and we stand in solidarity with all those who are seeking justice and healing. We acknowledge that this event is just one small step towards creating a more inclusive and just society, but we hope it will serve as a reminder of the ongoing work that we must do to address the systemic issues that have contributed to the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women. We thank all of those who have organized and participated in this event, and we will continue to work towards a better future for all members of our community. Thank you.
I would like to introduce a wonderful member of our community, Inspector Brent Secondiak, and his Blackfoot name is Sunman Talks.
Thanks, everyone. As Brenda said, a few months ago, I was fortunate enough to come to the college here for some training, and Elder Fox happened to be there, and he tricked me and surprised me with a Blackfoot name, Natusi Nepoi. I got it, which means Sun Man Talks. It was one of the greatest honors that I've ever had, and I'm truly grateful. And it's really from the hard work done by our friends at the Maiwasan Center, at the Medicine Hat College as well, and in the city. So thank you for that, Elder Fox. Just very briefly, on behalf of Chief Murphy, he couldn't be here this evening, so he sends his regrets. But on behalf of the service, we're really here today about the violence against First Nations people, women, children. It's disproportionately high in that culture in Canada, and that's just wrong. We've done our best here at the Medicine Hat Police Service to make a difference. From the National Inquiry into Missing Murdered Indigenous Women, there were 11 calls to justice for police. And I'm proud to say we worked hard to address all of them, but our work's ongoing. I know Chastity spoke very passionately about what we've been doing, but to be blunt, I don't think we've done enough. There's much more we can do. Our work has just started. But through things like our Indigenous Liaison Officer, and I see Constable Prasnichuk's hiding in the back, Holy Shield woman. Welcome, Laurie. Our Indigenous Advisory Committee, and there's several members from the community on that, as well as a review of our policies and procedures, and a review of all of our homicides and sexual assaults to make sure that we're living up to the calls for truth and justice. So on behalf of the service, I just want to talk to everyone about relationships. This is all about relationships moving forward. And we're proud to say that several of us in the community, I would call all the people at the Maiwasan Center our friends. And of course, you're welcome at the Medicine Hat Police Service anytime. I still have a lot to learn, but if you talk to Chastity and Brenda, they're willing to talk at any time, and their passion and truth comes out. So thanks, everyone, and I'm proud to be here today.
I'd like to call Maggie up. Maggie is going to share a bit of her story with us.
My name is Maggie. I'm from Nunavut. I'm an Inuk. I have a sister that had been murdered about 30 years ago, and it's still unsolved. It never was talked about, and we're still trying to figure out what really happened. I was just talking to my mother about a couple of hours ago because I need her approval. And and she was saying she's very forgetful now, but she remembered right away about my sister, about why nobody is, um, why a lot of women are murdered and never been solved yet. And I'm sorry. The one thing I really got me was we really need to start working together, and all the victims and the abusers should start trying to figure out how to go about to work things better instead of separating. Yeah, if you cannot live together, that's fine, but to the fact, to a point where your children don't even know which side to go to anymore, and that's the scary part. And then they become abusers, and it's been going further and further because we just let it go. We should start doing something together and work together. And thank you so much for coming over.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Come with
You
me.
guys are awesome. Thank you so much, honey. Oh.
Love you. You got it. Strong woman. It's a strong woman right there. Maggie, you know, like honestly, she's a strong woman. And I know a lot of them. There's a lot of them in the crowd here today, and I see you. And yeah, Maggie's been helping me bring the Nook education here at the college, and you know, she's been raising her voice and using her voice, which is important for us to do, and making changes for her people and helping me understand her culture, and so that I can help support our Inuk students here at the college. And I thank you again, Maggie.
Thank you.
So I'm going to call upon our next speaker, Dana. Dana Halden, she's on the Firekeepers Women's Society board, and so she's our sister from BC, and so.
Hi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dana Haldane. I lost my papers. I'm from Kitimat, BC. I'm grateful that I was not affected by the women's and missing murdered Indigenous women. I am very happy about that, but we stand with all of our sisters. Totally lost my papers. My mother is from the Lakwalams band, and my father was from the Nishka Nation. You hear many stories of all our women going missing on the highway of tears. It never went public. No news. You could never hear it on the news. It was very sad. It's our women who are missing or murdered is someone's mother, sister, niece, grandmother. They all mattered. They are loved and they are cared for. Be the light people shine so bright you're guiding out of the darkness. I have a vision from my sister, Desiree. I got 2 of them. I don't know if I can go through it, but I'll try my best. And there we go. My walk in the spirit world. I find myself in a house with several other women. I walk into a room. The women were leaving. I asked, "What do you need me to do?" A woman replied, "Go home. Go and bring our children, our girls home." In the next moment, I'm outside walking down the street. There are so many girls everywhere. A girl recognized me. She called out, "Hey, I know you. Aren't you Susie's best friend?" I smiled. Yes, I haven't seen or talked to her in years. The girl talks to the other 2 at the table. about where they shall go next, I interrupted them. I'm here to walk with you home. Come on, it's not a long walk, just up the road. I can hear them talking and giggling. They're excited to go home. We see the house just ahead of us. I smiled and hurried them along. As we entered the house, I see two elders by a fire. I walk past the fire and look behind me, and the girls are gone. I got scared and explained we weren't late and asked where did they go. As I was finished talking, I saw the two elders sprinkle cinnamon over the fire. The elder said the scent reminds them of home. The girls are home safe. Thank you. We will see you again to walk more sisters home. This is another vision my sister wrote. Okay, I walk by and see a child out in the dark cold. She is so cold and scared. I smile. Do you see our porch light is on? Means it's time to go home. I hold her hand, so cold my hand starts to warm hers up together. We walk past all the light up houses, and by the doorsteps are teddy bears. I said, it's all yours. She grabs one, hugs it tight, whispers, I've never had one before. I tell her times to see your parents and brothers and sisters. All of you have been gone so long. We never stopped looking for you. I'm here to help walk you home, to add light to the night and get you home safe. Your mom and dad never stopped looking for you. And they loved you all so very much. As we are the light at the end of the street getting brighter. She speaks softly. You found us. A tear falls down her cheek. Thank you for helping me get home safe. Drums are banging. We can hear her mom calling her name. We walk faster. She says, I'm going home. Bright light, white light shines. She looks over at me. Thank you, sister, for guiding me home. She runs into the light. I hear, Mommy, I'm home. As a parent, I'll never take those words for granted again. I am home. My sister wrote that for you guys to listen to. I have one more thing to say, and then I'm done. This is for my sister-in-law, Lavita Trumbo. I'm speaking her words today. I have been working with MMIWG since 2018. During the national inquiry and during that journey hearing stories across Canada, there was 231 recommendations to the government and authorities to begin taking the time for many of these cases, as it appeared no time was taken for many cases. Since 2018, they have filled any of the recommendations. No, they haven't. We're still in the system that was created against Natives. We're still treated as disposable unless and when we play an important role in the mental health. If only the government would recognize that are telling those that arrived false information in regards to our identities, as if they known better. We have been struggling since colonization occurred to be included and heard. Why is it we have to raise awareness to what the world has been ignoring? When the world was focused on George Floyd in the States, 10 Native youth were killed in Canada. During that time, from the authorities doing wellness checks, and the world didn't hear a single word about it. The systems were created to make barriers and challenges for the Indigenous people. It seems as though more are going missing or murdered as developments increases in communities. We have had enough of being treated like criminals as if we are disposable. It is a shame. I know over a dozen people missing and murdered in BC, here in BC. This is from my cousin, Lavita. You did it.
You did it.
I did it.
You did it.
Thanks, Jesse.
Okay. There you go. See, strong woman there. Another strong woman. Okay, this is where we're going to open it up to the community. So if anybody else wants to say a word, the mic's yours.
So I guess just what I really was wanted to say is that a lot of people feel that when you meet Indigenous people, you're learning from us. But I feel like it goes both ways. You know what I mean? When we have our sharing circles, we go around, we say who we are, where we're from, and that sort of connects us in a circle. When Chastity talked about the sharing circles that we have, everything that we say in that sharing circle stays in that sharing circle. So if you ever want to come and participate, reach out to Chastity or I or the Women's Firekeepers Women's Society, because we're there to do this. We want to have sharing circles. We want to have places where we are vulnerable, you can be vulnerable, and we can share about each other. There are no silly questions. If we don't know the answers, we just typically say we don't know, but we'll find out together.
Okay, good. Okay. So we're gonna have a little bit of round dance drumming. So because it's important for us to do that. Drumming, I know that people have been out to our events before, and when you hear that drum, it's so powerful, and it's resemblance of Mother Earth's heartbeat, and it's healing. And so, we don't want to just focus on the negative, because if we focus on the negative and have hate and hurt, and then we can't do anything. And so we want to make sure that you're walking away in a good way, and we hopefully you learned a little bit today, and so that we could start walking together in a good way, helping each other out, supporting and having those important conversations. And so that's the drum group is the key for me, because we're gonna walk away feeling good. And so we're gonna ask the drummers if they could sing some round dance songs for us. We really appreciate that. And so don't be shy. If you have two left foot, that's okay, because we dance left. So no excuses. No, just kidding. Unless you just had surgery, no. Please come out. Don't be shy, okay? This is how we learn. We learn together, and we'll laugh together if that's what we need to do too, And so just join together in solidarity for missing and murdered and the families that haven't been impacted by this awful genocide. And so
Maybe we just go around the chair.
maybe if you guys in the middle, can we move the chairs?